There is a jug of our clean oil. It came out of this oil drum that we have in here, okay, which is 520, which is acceptable for this engine. Remember, we have choices, 020 or 520. Okay, so what we're going to do, what I'm going to do is just put my finger in here, lubricate this seal, get some fresh oil on there so it doesn't stick. Next time we want to replace it. And a little bit of oil in there. We can put oil in this one because this filter is fastened straight up. So the oil's not going to pour out when we go to install it. Some filters are mounted horizontally, which means we can't put oil in them. But all this does is it shortens the amount of time that the engine gets oil. Because remember, the oil goes from the oil pan through the pickup to the pump to the filter. Okay, so if the filter's empty, then it has to fill up before the rest of the engine gets fresh oil. So I put a little bit of oil in there. It doesn't take much, maybe like a cup full. Okay, so that's good. Now we are ready to install. It goes up in here somewhere, wherever it is. Oh, I just spilt some, I think. Okay, and there it is there. So I screw that on. I clean my hand of all the oil I got on it. I grab a rag. Okay, tighten it, hand tight as I said. Wipe all any oil that's leaked out so it doesn't leak on the customer's driveway. You can see now that we're just dripping oil out of here. All the oil is drained out. It will drip like that forever. So at some point we got to put the plug back in. We might as well do it now. So that's the drain plug. Okay, so this one doesn't have a magnet on the end of it, but some of them do. Okay, so there's the gasket right there. It's still fastened to the pan. So we put the drain plug back in, get our wrench, give it a tighten, and wipe it off.
You know what I found out?
So to fill the oil now, we need to take the oil cap off. That's the oil cap there, and underneath here is the camshaft. So just looking at this valve cover here, it looks like this is probably, maybe it's a dual overhead cam. Maybe there's two camshafts under here. It's kind of hard to tell, but that's where we're going to put the clean oil. I'm not going to be able to do this while holding the camera. So I'm going to start with about 4 liters. This is a 4.5 liter jug. So I'm going to put most of this in, and then we'll take it from there. Okay, so I put that much oil, so it's about half a liter left. So I put about 4 liters in, and I just want to show you when we put the dipstick back in. So I haven't run the engine yet, so there's no oil that's gone through the engine yet, no clean oil. So if we look at it, you can see how it's over full right now by like half a liter. Okay, so I'm going to start it, and we're going to recheck it. Okay, so I started it for a few seconds. I made sure there was no leaks. Usually after you do the oil change, you start the vehicle, you start the engine, let it run for 20 seconds. Make sure there's no leaks or anything. Shut it off, let it sit for a few seconds so the oil drains back into the pan. And then we can check our level and make sure the level is good. So you can see that I've overfilled it a little bit, but it's not bad. All right, so this oil change is pretty much done. There's other services that we would do when we do an oil change, like check the tire pressures, check the air filter, check the wiper blades, okay, which are underneath this cover, so I can put this cover back on. And just regular maintenance items that we would check, because that's how we make money, and we also keep the customers safe on the road. So the last thing we need to do is put a sticker on the windshield, and you can see on the sticker it says kilometers and the date, and that's going to be the reminder for the customer when their next oil change is due. And usually we put the sticker, you can see the old ones have fallen off, but you can see the sticky stuff where all the stickers have gone over the years. So I just want to start it and show you one thing. See the gauges? Okay, so there's our speedometer, that's the vehicle speed. And there is our engine speed right there, which is the RPM. You can see 0 to 8, and then you can see where it gets up to just after the 6, it turns red. Well, you don't want the engine to rev any higher than that because you could damage something. So as I step on the throttle, you can hear it and see the RPM gauge. So that's the speed of the crankshaft. There is our vehicle speed, our fuel, and our engine temperature. So this vehicle is not equipped with an oil pressure gauge. Okay, so what I need to do is get the mileage of the vehicle, and you can't see it, but it says 88,117. And I'm going to add to that, I'm going to add 7,000 kilometers to that onto my sticker here. So 88, I'm going to round it off to 88 plus 7 is 95. So I'm going to put 95,000. And the month will be right now it's November, December, January, February, March, April. We'll put May. So it's not an exact science. We don't need an exact date or mileage, but just something close for them, so they know when they need to get their oil change done. So now what I'm going to do is peel it off the back here. Put it up here like that, out of their line of sight, just as a reminder. And now they know when their next oil change is due. All right, so that's it for a simple oil change. We'll talk more in class.